You've got to understand that if you're going after something great, you're trying to achieve something substantial with your life, you are opening yourself up and making yourself more vulnerable to failure. You will make some mistakes. Guys, we're here and I'm pretending that all of you are sitting down with me in my studio just having a good old guitar motivation chat here. And that's what we're doing today. I want to talk to you real briefly about failures. And of course, I'm going to relate this to playing guitar and being a musician, but these apply to just about every aspect of life. And my number one goal here is to keep you from throwing in the towel. This is my gym towel. I should probably wash it. I don't want you to quit. I don't want you to ever give up. I also don't want you to remain stagnant. This video, I'm going to give you a little push and you're going to move up. So we're going to talk about 3 ways to handle failures and mistakes. Number 1 is understand. You must understand that if you're going after something great, if you're trying to achieve something substantial with your life, you're more vulnerable to failure. You will make some mistakes down the road, and you might even make more mistakes than you bargained for, because that's just what happens. Well, why does that happen? One thing is, as you achieve greatness at each level, okay, it becomes a little bit more difficult as you move up the chain, so to speak. And this is with really any aspect of life, but let's talk about guitar. You know, when you're first starting out, you kind of learn. I don't want to say everybody learns fast. Some people do, some people don't, but you're moving right along. You're trucking right along. If you're putting in the time, you're putting in the effort, you're building and building and building. But somewhere along the way, and we all experience this at times, we hit the ceiling, right? We get stuck. It's like you just can't seem to get past that hurdle, that wall. You've reached a certain point, and one example I'll give you, I hear this from a lot of guitar players, a lot of you out there. It's like, you kind of get to the lead part, playing guitar solos. You're like, I'm just a rhythm player. I'm just not meant to play guitar solos. No. I remember in Jurassic Park, that was a cool part of the movie. That's not the attitude I want you to have. Rather, I want you to take that next step, go through those failures, because you're gonna fail some more as you push yourself, okay? You're gonna make some mistakes. You're gonna hit some wrong notes. Trust me, I've been there. Some of you are there right now, and I still make mistakes as well. Don't get me wrong. I still make them because I'm trying to also achieve that higher level each and every single day. So you don't want to remain stagnant either. You want to continue to push yourself, but just know that yes, you will fail, you'll make mistakes, but that's one more step to moving to that place that you're going towards, okay, that you're going for there. Now, one thing I will say, as you begin to achieve greatness, and all of you are going to achieve greatness, you're doing it right now by watching this video, okay? If you're still watching this video, you're with me. We're here in the room. You can't leave because I locked the studio door. But you are on the path. You are great now, but you are on the path to becoming greater each and every day. And I'll tell you this real quick before we move on to number 2. Countless guitar players. I'd be willing to say that every single professional guitar player out there, from Joe Satriani to Vi to Kirk Hammett to Malmsteen, all these guitar players have made more than one mistake on stage in their lifetime. I've heard them, and this is not a bad thing, okay? Because again, a lot of times when you're at that level, the only people that are really going to notice is the other guitar players out there in the audience. So of course, if you're going to a Satch concert or Malmsteen concert, probably 80-90% of the audience are guitar players. But I think you understand what I'm saying. As you progress, those mistakes will be less noticeable, and a lot of times they're only going to be noticeable to you. So yeah, number 1, as you achieve greatness, as you go for it, you're going to be more vulnerable to failures and mistakes. Accept it, keep moving forward. Number 2, how do you react to your failures? How do you react when you make a mistake? Now, this is going to determine whether you have an amateur mindset, and I don't care what level you're at. I'm talking about your mindset. Whether you have an amateur mindset or maybe even an immature mindset versus a professional mindset, and that mindset that just keeps pushing forward no matter what. And what I mean by that, if you have the amateur mindset, well, then you're the type of person that, well, you just blame someone else or something else, or you just get whiny and upset. Or do you own the failure? Do you own your mistake? Yeah, hey, I failed. I fell flat on my face. I made a mistake, but you know what? I'm just going to keep pushing forward. How you react to your failures and how you react to your mistakes, this is your choice, by the way. It's a decision that you make. No one else makes it for you. It doesn't matter what's happening in your life. How you react to that is often going to determine your next series of decisions as well. And this can get kind of scary if you have a negative reaction that you choose to have, even the things that may be beyond your control. And I'm kind of venturing into some different territory here. I'm not going to get too deep, but even things that happen beyond your control, how you react to them will impact the next decision that you make, and so on. And that can snowball in a very detrimental way and just can send you spiraling down the path of darkness in life. Hey, this sounds like some cool metal lyrics we're coming up with here. But if you choose instead, when you fail, when you hit that wrong note, or you just laid down that really awesome guitar track and realize you didn't press record, yeah, that's happened a few times more than once. Your decision on how you react to those incidents is going to carry over to the next decision and the next decision and so forth. So here's the thing, you have to decide ahead of time that no matter what happens, no matter how bad the failure is or how bad the mistake is, that you're not going to have a pity party about it. You're not going to blame anyone or anything, okay? You are going to take ownership of that mistake. And it's your mistake. Be proud of that mistake, because remember, that mistake is one stepping stone away from the greatness that you're achieving, okay? That failure is just another learning, is part of the learning process of you achieving that next level, which you are going for. You're achieving that. And I'll give you a quick example of one of my failures that I owned. I'll tell you how I owned it as well. So I was on stage, right? And I was playing along, or about to play along with the backing track. Actually, it was the song Redemption from my first album, Apocalyptic Dreams. So the backing track starts, then I go to start the lead part, and nothing's coming out. So I look back at my amp, well, the red light is on, and I start panicking. I'm like, oh crap, is my amp, is it just blown? Like, what's going on? So I quickly walk back there. I realized that I had it on standby. It's the EVH 5153. It's a tube amp. And I'm like, oh crap. So I kind of wave my hand. I'm like, I'm sorry, can you please start that track over again? There's really no one to blame at that point. I mean, I set my own gear up, no one to blame, right? But you know, some people will even blame the amp. They'll say, well, why does it even have a standby switch? You know, some people are like that. Maybe you've been like that too. Maybe you're like that now. I've been that way in the past. In my past, I'll say my past life, there were times where I'd blame other people for mistakes. I'd blame other things for mistakes. I've even blamed God, you know, for mistakes, failures that I have made. Anyway, back to this show. So I turned the amp, or I turned the standby switch up so that now my amp, I can play through it. And I start the track over. But before I did that, here's how I reacted to that failure, the utter failure with, I don't know, there's probably a couple hundred people out there in the audience thinking like, this guy's a complete amateur. Where did you get this person from? So I get up to the mic and said, look guys, I apologize. You know, I've been playing music for over 30 years and on stage a lot of those years, and I just made a newbie mistake. My amp wasn't turned on. So everybody laughed, and then we continued on. So anyway, and I don't know if that's the best example, but own your mistake, admit to your mistake, but more importantly, move on from that mistake. By the way, I've got a video of that mistake and 2 more mistakes I made in the same show. I'll put a link up here if you guys want to go check that out later. It's pretty comical. Number 3, and we're going to kind of take a little twist here. Understand that not everything that you perceive as a failure is a failure. Not everything that you think that's a mistake is a mistake. And one example, actually this is like several examples in one, there are several guitar players and musicians out there that will tell you that, hey, when we recorded this album, man, we screwed up in this one part, but as we went back and listened to it, it's like, hey, you know what? It worked. Let's keep it in. It actually caused like this weird effect. And I think I remember Kirk Hammett mentioning that. I can't remember what song it was, but mentioning where his his finger had kind of slipped off the fretboard in one of the solos, and he's like, oh crap, I'm gonna have to do this over again. But as they went back and listened to it, it actually created this cool little effect. Now, of course, probably can't replicate it on stage, but it just sounded cool. So you're like, you know what? Instead of going back and re-recording the process, let's just leave it in there. So they did. Again, I wish I could remember what song that was. It's in one of the magazines that I read. So if you know the song, please let me know in the comments. But sometimes we can be hard on ourselves. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't be tough on yourself. You should challenge yourself, but sometimes we can be overly critical of ourselves. So you've really got to develop that fine balance of, okay, you know what? I'm gonna push myself. I'm gonna be a little tough on myself, but at the same time, I'm gonna allow myself some breathing room as well. I'm not gonna overanalyze everything. I'm not gonna be overly critical. You know, I am in this spot right now. You are in this spot right now, and you're playing where you're at. So if you're recording that album, for example, or that single that you want to put out there, don't try to overdo it for the sake of quote-unquote perfection, which I don't believe perfection exists. There can always be better or whatever, and sometimes you can redo it over and over thinking that you're making it better when actually you're sucking the life out of the song because you're trying to make it too perfect. Realize that you're where you're at right now, so put out where you're at right now. If you're writing a song and you want to get it out there, you're recording that, this is where you're at right now. You know what? A year or 2 or 3 years down the road, when you record your next song or album, maybe you will have improved, or maybe it's not about how well you played the song. Maybe it's more about the songwriting, but it will be different down the road. So realize that, put out where you're at right now and allow yourself to put out the content, the music, the song, 2-3 years or whenever you record that next piece of music. Allow yourself to be that person at that time. Does that make sense? Like my first album, Apocalyptic Dreams, just an instrumental metal album. Fast forward to 1, 2, 3 albums later, Masterpiece, which I released in 2019, so this is from 2013, 2019. Masterpiece sounds a lot different from my first album because Masterpiece has vocals in it. I also used a real professional studio drummer, Cameron Fleury. So there are a lot of elements. It's also my first album with a 7-string. So that was me at that point in time, right? Which was a little bit different from what I was in 2013, or actually before that when I was recording my first album. So this next album I put out in 2022, Overcometh. It's going to be a bit different because it's going to be where I am right now, not only as a guitarist, but also as a songwriter and vocalist and so forth, and everything that goes with that. So just allow yourself to be who you are right now, put it out there, realize that not every perceived failure or perceived mistake, not everything is actually a failure or mistake, okay? Sometimes it's just good to just put out where you're at, and I can't stress that enough. And back to guitar playing in general, realize that everything that you record, or if you're playing live, you know, just because it's not perfectly on or in sync, it doesn't necessarily mean you should redo it, because you may be capturing one of those little nuances that just brings life to the music. And this is one of the reasons why I will never use things like auto-tune for my vocals on my albums, on Jason Stallworth albums. You will not ever hear auto-tune. I might not be in perfect pitch every single time. Now, if I'm off and it's bad, then, well, guess what? I'm not going to use auto-tune to fix it. I'm going to re-record it. Or maybe I take a 2 or 3 week break and work on my vocal capabilities, then go back and record it. Put in the work, folks. You got to put in the work, right? What I play is what you're going to hear. If I screw up that bad, then guess what? I go back and re-record it. Or maybe I need to take a week and just learn my songs, learn my parts a little bit better before recording it, right? But there might be some subtle nuances there, right? There might be some parts where it's just off just a hair. And this is why I record 2 rhythm tracks and hard pan each, because you're not going to play that second track perfect to the first track, which creates those little nuances, which gives the song life and authenticity, okay? One more thing, I will never have the drummer I hire use any kind of program to perfectly align the hits so that it's just, you know, synchronized or whatever. I'm not going to do that because that sucks the life out of music. Now, I'm just giving you my opinion. I'm just kind of going on a little auto-tune rant type of thing here, but I just think those tools are overused, and I don't see the need to use them at all personally. You can do without them. So many bands recorded great songs and great albums without that, and me personally, I believe that's why a lot of folks prefer older music over the newer modern stuff, because it just all sounds robotic. But circling back around to our topic here, not everything that you perceive as a failure or mistake is actually a failure or a mistake. Sometimes those little imperfections can be the thing that just brings life to your music. So just remember that. Now, of course, you expect some metal in my video, so I'm gonna give that to you right now. But real quick, I just want to remind you, if you don't have my free practice guide, download that. There's a link in the description of this video. Also, I've got 2 guitar courses out right now, Metal Guitar Apprentice for complete beginners just getting into metal guitar playing, or if you're an intermediate guitarist and beyond that, then you'll want to get into my Metal Riff Masterclass. We touched a little on riff writing and just the creative process in this video here. The bonus there, I think it's bonus number 1 or 2, I can't remember which one. There's a bonus module in Metal Riff Master on riff writing, so that's just a cool extra that I give you in that course. Again, those links are in the description of this video. Guys, thank you so much for watching my videos. Gonna play some metal for you, but make sure you like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and here's your metal.